Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
Polling day is just 25 days away. Whoever wins is going to be a new face in City Hall. The curtain is finally about to fall on the Boris and Ken era of London politics. Remember, we've only had two mayors in the last 16 years. Over the next 4 weeks, we're going to be putting all of the main mayoral candidates through their paces. What are they offering you over the next 4 years? And how would they pay for it? Now, let's begin with a candidate who can justly claim to have as big a public profile as either Ken or Boris, maybe even bigger. George Galloway made headlines for his trips to Iraq, for a barnstorming appearance before the US Senate, and of course that leotard in the Big Brother house. He was expelled by the Labour Party in 2003, but twice has managed to defeat its candidates in parliamentary elections, this time for the Respect Party. Now he wants to be Mayor of London. Andrew Cryan has been out on the campaign trail.
George Galloway this week was on the Whitechapel Road, sharing a vision of the morning of the 6th of May, his first full day as Mayor of London.
That will be a day to make them sit up and take notice. George Galloway for one London, a London for all.
Now, George Galloway in this election has got one central message, that he better represents the party he used to belong to, Labour, than their current candidate, Sadiq Khan. He says he's closer to Jeremy Corbyn politically, and that if you believe in socialist Labour values, George is your man.
I'm the one who stands by Jeremy Corbyn. My opponent supports Corbyn as the rope supports the hanging man.
But it's a claim, as you might expect, that's utterly rejected by Labour.
George Galloway isn't a member of the Labour Party, and quite frankly, we don't really want him in the Labour Party, so he's not the Labour candidate by any stretch of the imagination.
But Labour or not, what does George Galloway actually want to do? On housing, he's promising a 50% target for all new homes to be affordable, and under a definition that means what it says. He also wants to introduce rent controls and to compulsorily purchase any property left empty for over a year without what he calls a good reason. On transport, he wants to cut the number of managers at TfL and crack down on Uber. And on policing, he says he wants more action on racism.
Really what it's about is, you know, an anti-banker, anti-fat cat, anti-1% kind of candidate, which, you know, will have some resonance, but in the end, people will judge, you know, make a judgment about that as to whether he's really going to get into City Hall and have any chance of doing any of this.
So, what are his chances actually like?
The Respect team asked to meet us here in Whitechapel, which is the area where George Galloway used to be an MP, and he's definitely getting a warm reception. But just how well is the campaign going in the rest of London? Well, there's a clue if you look on your phone.
On Twitter, he has 250,000 followers, no doubt helped by a near constant supply of tweets.
Now, that makes 90 tweets in the last day alone, or one every 17 minutes or so.
But where does all that actually get you? For example, George Galloway has tried to raise money online, but with little success, setting a target of £100,000, but only raising 3 and a bit.
You speak to your family and you tell them, this man is the only man that will deliver. The rest of them, they're not bothered about you.
Indeed, it's worth remembering that the last time he tried to win a London-wide vote, standing for the London Assembly in 2008, George Galloway only managed to win 2% of the vote and came in 8th place.
Thanks. God bless you.
Andrew Cryan reporting. George Galloway is with me. Welcome to the Sunday Politics. 6 years since you last held elected office in London as an MP. The polls recently suggest you're really struggling to make an impact in these elections. What's gone wrong?
That's a bogus poll, you know, because my name...
Two polls?
Well, they're both bogus.
Okay.
My name was not put to the respondents in either of those polls.
So you're saying that shows support levels for respect, not for George Galloway?
Well, not even that. It's others in one case and respect in the second case.
But to win, you'd have to have much more impact than that. So even if you're dismissed as others, that tells you something, doesn't it?
As your reporter just said, we're getting a very warm reception, not just in the places I used to represent, but in Tooting yesterday, a hero's welcome, and my rival is the MP there. So we'll see. Look, polls are a somewhat discredited institution in any case. We'll see what happens on the 5th of May.
I mean, you can't argue with the real poll, which was the last time when you tried to run for the London Assembly. There was no real impact there. I mean, I just wonder what's changed, given also you've been away from London politics for several years.
I got 100,000 votes in London 12 years ago. We got 250,000 votes in England when we were only 12 weeks old. My name, my recognition factor is quite big. And we'll see what the voters think.
Not big enough for you to raise money, apparently.
Oh, that's just nonsense. I mean, I don't know why you didn't ask me that. I could have saved you the embarrassment.
I can ask you now.
Well, as you saw from the bus and so on, we're not struggling to raise funds.
Okay.
That was one of many vehicles that we were raising
So where's
funds,
the money coming from if that's not worked?
Individuals who are making donations, not through that particular portal.
Some of those 250,000 Twitter followers, maybe.
250,000 Twitter followers, 500,000 followers on Facebook, 1 million in social media as a whole. I don't think you would argue that my name has disappeared from public discourse. It hasn't. And we'll see what people think. I think the bookies are right. I'm third favourite at every bookies, and I think I'm in third place.
Yeah, but the odds aren't very good, though, are they? So,
well, third favourite is third favourite.
Okay.
I mean, some of the
trouble is, this 125 to 1, and this is a contest, as you know, because you'll know how the system works.
I'm 16 to 1.
OK, fine, you're 16 to 1, but notwithstanding, it's no good to be third. You've got to be in the top two, or it doesn't count.
Well, you say it's no good to be third. It would be a very considerable achievement, given I've been kept off all the televised hustings and so on, and an attempt to black out, not by the BBC, I must say, but to black out my very existence in this race. If I was in
here today.
No. If I was in third place with a substantial 6-figure vote and was elected to the London Assembly, that would be a very successful operation, wouldn't it?
So from your point of view, actually, the Assembly election matters more.
The Assembly election matters a lot, but of course I'm in it to win it.
Let me ask you a couple of things. First of all, you have talked about this being a desire, we saw it in Andrew's report on the bus, to make this a London for all Londoners, to not have a London run by the rich, for the rich. You've talked about for everyone, not a London that's just for those dripping with gold. Do you think Londoners will be comfortable hearing that message from a man who has himself been financially so successful?
Well, I think they're flocking to it. Panama Dave, the miscreant Prime Minister, George Osborne, the part owner of a very successful firm that doesn't pay any corporation
sure George
tax.
Osborne's name is mentioned in the Panama Papers.
Not in the Panama Papers, but his company, his family company, hasn't paid corporation tax for 5 years.
OK,
now,
we'll leave that because he isn't here to talk about it himself.
But this kind of London, where the richest people shelter, let's use a kind word, shelter their wealth in order that they don't have to share it with the rest of us in public services through taxation.
Can I ask you directly about that then? Because Jeremy Corbyn said on the Andrew Marr show this morning that he thinks actually this disclosure thing should apply slightly more widely than just members of Parliament. When you were a member of Parliament, you were required to disclose your income and register members' interest.
Detail.
And in 2014, it was reported that you were, I think, the MP with the third highest earnings outside of Parliament. I think it totaled about £250,000. Much of it paid through a company, Malacca Media, of which you were the director. Would you have paid the 45p top rate on all of your earnings?
Well, the earnings that I made, you yourself just alluded to it, that I was successful, that I am successful, makes my political case all the stronger. I'm saying that people like me, people like Cameron, like Osborne, should be paying far more in tax, and we mustn't hide any of our wealth in order to avoid the taxman.
So those earnings, would you have been paying the personal rate, or would you have been paying the lower corporation rate?
I've paid a very, very great deal amount of money in tax, exactly as I was required to.
Indeed.
So the point
But
that
you
I
think you
make,
should pay more and
I
people
sh-
like you
I
and
should
people...
pay more. People who are
Okay,
successful
okay.
should pay more so that our pensioners can be warm in the winter time, our disabled people can have proper disability benefits and so on. That's the difference between me and Panama Dave.
On policy, housing, that's quite an important point that you've focused on. You'd like half of all new homes to be characterised as affordable, and a definition that you think would be more realistic than the current
Also
one.
50%. Yeah.
What about the view that it actually has a chilling effect on development?
Well, you know, luxury development we have more than enough of. And if a luxury developer is going to say that my mayoral policy will stop him building yet another block of luxury flats, I'll say hallelujah. Because that'll leave a piece of land that we can work to develop with council housing. My main housing policy is that we need hundreds of thousands of council houses, democratic renting.
Fine, but A, you don't have the power as Mayor of London to do that under current powers, you accept that. But also what the House Building Federation, among others, say is, look, all that has happened when Ken introduced that target was that the number of new builds fell.
Well, they would say that, wouldn't they?
But it's true, isn't it? The stats are there.
They would, if what you're saying is they're going to go on strike...
320 local authority homes were started in the 8 years Ken was mayor, 3,030 in the 8 years that Boris has been mayor.
Actually, only 80 council houses.
And he, of course, didn't get rid of the tactic.
80 council houses were built in London last year, when 2 million people are in the private rented sector, almost always with landlords who are only in it for the money. Which, by the way, they get a lot of the money from the public.
Let me ask you
from the tax system.
We heard about your relationship with Labour. We heard Jeremy Corbyn criticise the tactics you used against the Labour candidate in Bradford. He said they were appalling. He was shocked. It was
I saw that in a newspaper. He hasn't said that to me.
OK, well, maybe you'll ask next time you see him.
But
you have also said that you would run in the Tooting by-election that would be caused if Sadiq Khan runs for
I definitely will.
Does that mean that you're saying to your supporters, use your second preference vote for Sadiq?
I haven't decided that yet. If they want to talk to me about that, I'm ready to listen. But I've said very clearly, I'm running for mayor. I hope to be elected to the London Assembly, and I will be a candidate in the Tooting by-election, which I think will follow swiftly after the mayoral.
George Galloway, mayoral candidate for Respect. Thanks very much for being with us this lunchtime.